The mysteries of the universe are many, and even within our own galaxy, there are places where the greatest warriors hesitate to venture.
In any case, it's time to address what might be the biggest elephant in the super room, the Meridian Singularity.
As you all know, Meridia was just reopened for observation. It's hard to believe such a terrible invasion force emerged from this wormhole, but it did, and we nearly lost everything.
The truth is, we probably haven't seen the worst of what the Squids have to offer. In time, we may need to find a way to venture through the Singularity ourselves, and to whatever awaits beyond its event horizon.
Let's spend some time looking into this very serious matter and drawing some conclusions about what lies beyond the Meridian Singularity.
Here we go. Our story begins over 100 years ago at the very end of the First Galactic War. After a prolonged and bitter conflict, the Squids were finally defeated. As penance for their many transgressions, the leaders of Super-Earth ordered that what remained of the Illuminate's military be entirely dissolved and any technology they possessed that could be weaponized be handed over to Super-Earth.
And sadly, in an act of misguided mercy, Super-Earth mandated that the Illuminate leave the Milky Way forever, effectively banished from our galaxy. With no other choice left, the Squids were forced to comply with these orders, and so they vanished, leaving virtually no trace of their once great empire behind. But little did we know that peace was never something these tentacle tyrants wanted.
For 100 years, peace reigned across the galaxy, and the Illuminate became a distant memory for the vast majority of the Federation's inhabitants. Mothers and fathers would of course use them to discipline their ill-behaved children, saying that if they failed to do as they were told, the Squids would show up in their warp ships late at night to abduct them and take them back to their homeworld. For the most part, this tactic worked like a charm. But many light years away, in some other galaxy, the Squids had begun rebuilding, waiting for the perfect moment to return and exact their revenge on Super-Earth.
From what history tells us, the Squids fled the galaxy, their population reduced to a final few survivors who were too weak and impotent to offer any further resistance against Super-Earth. In spite of this, we can safely assume that the Illuminate wasted no time in re-establishing itself in star systems far beyond our constant surveillance. We can only really make assumptions at this point, but there are two theories held by some of the top minds in the Ministry of Science.
The first is that the Illuminate spread across a single galaxy over the course of the last 100 years. Where exactly this galaxy lies is currently unknown, or rather, if anything is known about it, High Command is keeping quiet about it so as not to stir up a panic among our citizenry. But in all likelihood, the Squids have either moved too far away, or they're using advanced tech to prevent us from detecting them anywhere outside of our immediate galaxy. It is widely believed that this is, in fact, the truth, and that we simply cannot determine anything about the Illuminate because they are doing everything in their power to stay hidden from our long-distance scanners.
And then there's the second theory, that the situation is far worse than we can possibly imagine, and that the Illuminate have spread to multiple galaxies. This would be what we would consider a worst-case scenario, but given just how little the Squids had to work with when they left over a century ago, the chances of this being true are extremely low. Even with the advanced tech and knowledge, transforming worlds, replenishing numbers, and building a huge armada of ships takes a lot of time. 100 years is a lifetime for a human, but in terms of the universe, it's barely a blip on the radar. The Squids may have sent expeditions to other galaxies, but moving across all sectors and planets and developing them in a mere century just doesn't seem like something even a species as capable as them could realistically achieve.
Although we must be prepared for anything, it seems more than reasonable to assume the Illuminates have spent the last 100 years establishing a new homeworld, or possibly homeworlds, and developing infrastructure to facilitate the construction and deployment of a massive military force. Judging by what we've had to deal with since their re-emergence just a few months ago, and the losses they have inflicted upon us, they have millions of ships at their disposal, as well as millions of units ready to fight for their superiors.
But the Illuminate our super-grandfathers faced in the First Galactic War is not the same Illuminate we found ourselves pitted against today. The Squids have had to adapt to their new galaxy, and considering the lessons they learned from fighting Super-Earth all those years ago, they are more nefarious, frightening, and determined to destroy democracy than ever before.
It's obviously impossible to know precisely what lies beyond the Meridian Singularity, but we can make some educated guesses based on what we've encountered in our own galaxy. If Hive Lords and Dragon Roaches dwell on bug hive worlds like Osha Une, there's little doubt that whatever's on core Illuminate worlds will be similarly horrific, and more or less as colossal. We'll need all the ordnance we can get, and even some more weaponry specifically geared toward taking out the Illuminate more efficiently. But until we actually go toe-to-toe with these as-yet unseen alien foes, we may simply have to apply as much force as we're able to muster to take them down.
The other question is, where exactly does the Meridian Singularity lead to? And if the Helldivers and SEAF are currently monitoring our side of the wormhole, it's safe to assume the Squids are doing the same on theirs. They may not expect us to enter their galaxy anytime soon, but that doesn't mean they aren't keeping an eye on things in the meantime. The Illuminate may lack our humanity and spirit, but their cold intelligence and knowledge of profane madness, while utterly abhorrent, is arguably their greatest strength, and ultimately, a weakness we must exploit.
Assuming the Squids won't be ready for us would be extremely foolish. We may be in for a nasty surprise when we cross the threshold. Even if we possess the means to travel through the Singularity, going in blind would be the worst thing we could possibly do. If we aren't careful, we risk losing a huge portion of, if not our entire fleet. We have to assume the worst and take measures to ensure we incur as few losses as possible.
So how exactly would we go about entering the Squids galaxy and bringing the fight to them? Although we don't have the official confirmation from High Command regarding how this would play out, we here at the SES have our own take on what the process would look like. This is how we believe we could ultimately defeat the Illuminate and guarantee that we never face another invasion from them ever again.
First, we'll need to send probes through the Singularity so they can begin mapping out whatever's on the other side, gathering intel on the galaxy's layout and what enemy numbers are like. Even if we can't easily see the Illuminate, they cannot hide forever, and with the right tech, we'll be able to bypass whatever cloaking systems they have in place. Every day we understand dark fluid and its applications a little better. And with the abundance of E711 on Terminate Hive worlds, being able to produce it at scale is only a few months away at most.
In this sense, the ultimate key to beating the Squids is venturing deeper into the gloom and capturing some of the bugs' hive worlds to fuel the war effort against the Illuminate. It may be an uncomfortable truth, but the existence of the Terminids is sadly necessary if we want to win the galactic war. And if we do end up fighting the Squids in their own galaxy, the Second Galactic War could turn into the First Intergalactic War, which might sound like science fiction right now, but if things are going the way we think they are going, it's practically certain.
After scouting out the other side of the Singularity and mapping out as much as we can, we'll need to think about how we actually get to the galaxy in question. If it's close enough, we may be able to get there using our super destroyers. But even then, this may not be the most efficient way to bring the fight to the Squids. We could go through the front door, as in through the Singularity, but that seems like the riskiest option. It's not out of the question, but the last thing we want is to walk into a trap that we have no chance of escaping.
For this reason, option 2 may be the safer approach. What am I talking about, you ask? Simple. If you can't go through the front door, go around the back, or through a window if you have to. In other words, we may need to open up another wormhole that connects us to another part of the Illuminate's galaxy, where we can establish a base of operations, sort of like what we've done with Outpost Alpha on Hellmire. This is definitely not something we can achieve easily, certainly not right now. But with more research into dark fluid and its applications, this may be more achievable than you think.
We can totally collapse another planet if we have to, but the real problem is making the other side of the Singularity appear where we need it to. That's way more complicated and something the eggheads at the Ministry of Science need to figure out. But having 2 large wormholes in our own galaxy also doesn't sound all that great. That may give us the ability to cross over into the Illuminate's galaxy, but it also means they could use it against us. And that's a big no-no in General Brash's book.
Which leads us to option 3, which is inspired by a piece of tech from the Control Group Premium Warbond, the Warp Pack. Right now, we're only able to allow individual Helldivers to jump a relatively short distance by manifesting a tiny wormhole for a fraction of a second. But with more power and the right tech, and a target destination, we could develop an entirely new kind of technology, one that could allow individual super destroyers to jump instantaneously to almost any point in the universe, as long as the end location is definitively known.
What we're talking about is something we're tentatively calling a Singularity drive, or a Singularity engine if you prefer. Yep. Just as we use E710 to fuel our FTL drives, E711 may give us the ability to incorporate all super destroyers with their very own Singularity drive. There's a whole lot of science involved, but in essence, a Singularity drive could enable safe intergalactic travel. If the endpoint destination is known, of course. The last thing we would want is for our Helldivers to create a wormhole and end up far beyond reach due to some calamitous misfortune. Perish the thought.
Don't get your hopes up too high yet though, Helldivers. There's still a lot of research to be done, and we do have to consider the enemies that surround us in our own galaxy. At the very least, we'll have to thin out or expunge the Squids from the southern front before we can really embark on a campaign beyond the Meridian Singularity.
Remember, this is all speculation and educated guesses. We don't know for sure if this is how this would all play out, but these are a few ways we could see an expedition beyond the Singularity actually taking place. And even with the best intel, there's little doubt we'd be in for some very nasty surprises on the other side. The more we can learn about the Illuminate in our own galaxy, and the more we're able to figure out about the Singularity, Dark Fluid, and what the Illuminate have been doing for 100 years, the better.
Well, troops, we hope you found this broadcast useful. There is no need to panic, and as it stands, Meridia is secure. We will continue to monitor activity and keep our fingers on the pulse, but with the spoils of the gloom now within our reach, we have other business to attend to first, and more than a few scores to settle.
Indeed, Interloper. But what do you think, Helldivers? Do you believe we'll ever venture through the Singularity? Is an intergalactic war on the cards? Be sure to share your thoughts in the comments. Any and all democratic theories are welcome.
In the meantime, be sure to check out our last video that puts the ultimate fate of Super Earth sharply in focus. And for those of you in need of more training, be sure to watch our briefing on melee weapons. It's especially useful if you like getting up close and personal with the enemy.
Don't forget to like and subscribe, and please become a member today. Thanks to all of you who have signed up. Without you, none of this would be possible. We'll see you all again soon, troops. Until next time, stay forever free and never ever surrender. For Super Earth and democracy.